Hi guys, welcome back to Tia Ritana. My name is Abby, and today we're going to be doing the sacral chakra. Just move my tea over here. So, this is the last week of Scorpio season, and I feel like everything's just coming up to the surface now. That was really the message for the root chakra this week. And as we are coming up to the surface, it's kind of funny how we're ending it with this Gemini full moon. We're going to find quite a lot of messages at the end of this week. What is our blockage for our sacred space this week? Oh god, this is like, oh, this layers. Okay, first two cards are the Knight of Wands and the Hierophant. And the moon is currently in Aries. That's why I'm laughing. Anytime like I'm doing the reading and it's the first card that comes out correlates with the moon element, so I'm just laughing. So, blockage for sacral space this week. Ooh. Hold on. Hold up. Punishment. Oh god, okay. What is the blockage? I'm gonna take two more cards. Blockage for our sacral. Yep. And those were the two. Just grab that. Okay. How can we best heal our sacral space this week? How can we best heal our sacral space this week? Ooh. Hold up. How can we best heal our sacral space this week? Let's heal our sacral space this week. Okay, let's heal our sacral space this week. It's kind of funny how it just goes hand in hand with the root chakra. Okay. Let's heal our sacral space this week. Yo, that is crazy. Okay. Bottom of the deck, Nine of Wands, King of Swords. Notice how this right here is ruled by Sag and the moon. Oh, look. And death right there. This reading is going to be very much from Scorpio to Sag. From Scorpio to Sag. That's really what I'm already seeing. One thing to note about the King of Wands in this deck is that it's also the card of Sagittarius. Oh, okay, anyway. So for our blockage, we have the Knight of Wands and the Hierophant with punishment, and the Queen of Wands, which in this card is Cancer, and in this deck is Cancer, and the Six of Cups. So, what is it that we are struggling with moving on, or really getting grounded in, and really sorting out the kind of like the gunk, because that's what this is right here. This is the gunk. Punishment feels like everything's just kind of crashing down, including the thing that we want the most. Also notice that this card is also ruled by Scorpio and the Sun, so there's that. There is a need to really get to the bottom of everything that you need to get to the bottom to this week, while we're in the last week of Scorpio season. It's like last week to emotionally sort out the gunk. Last week to just get yourself sorted so we can use this fire for something better, because it came, of course it came up in the healing for how best to heal that this week. We got the Chariot, the Two of Swords, Judgment, the King of Wands, and then we have Temperance, because I told you guys this is going to be a very Scorpio to Sag reading. It's like, hey, remember that this is supposed to be in balance. And the first card that jumped out in the root chakra was Justice. And it's like, hey, remember that we're supposed to be in balance. Remember that this is all, everything's accumulating to be for one thing, but you really still need to keep your head and your emotions sorted. Thinking that what's happening now to you, this is also the card of Taurus, by the way, thinking what's happening now to you, it's like a punishment, because you're not necessarily getting what you want emotionally. This is a very Cancer-esque thing to do. We've talked about this many times, and they're like, why don't you treat me like this? Why don't you give me, why am I always the one? It's a very Cancer-esque thing to do. But this week is not about holding grudges, because those things that we complain about this week are actually going to be things that are actual traumas, and then you're gonna have to really sort out where your anger is coming from, because there's a lot of pent up fire that's not getting used properly. Our will space, our manifestation in the sacral space is not getting used properly, and so we are in a place where we want to move. By the way, the Chariot is the card of Cancer as well, so we got Cancer showing up here twice. And Cancer is, we're gonna, by the time I do the next week's video, the moon's gonna be in Cancer, so there is a need to kind of embrace this energy going into it this week. As far as the next watery moon that we touch will be Cancer, there is a need to really work with that energy. You would think that this is kind of like counterproductive, but the best way to heal that, we got the Chariot and we got the Two of Swords. Then we have Judgment. So what is it that, where is it that you want to go? What is it that you want to do? You want to move. You want to move. You want to move. It's in the blockage. You want to move. You want to move. It's also in the healing aspect, but then you're not moving because something seems like it's a punishment. I feel like, especially with Temperance, don't forget, we're heading into the luckiest season of the year, I would say, because Jupiter is in Sag, and because Sag is naturally lucky. Pay attention to your Sag placements, because up until all the way next year, your Sag placements is going to be lit. There is like, this is why Temperance keeps showing up. Like in every reading I do, it's been showing up for a hot minute. Just the same way that Death was showing up all summer, so I can remind you guys of all the death work that we were going to be having to do. Temperance has been showing up a lot, and it's because it's like, hey, you know you're doing all this work, you know you're doing all this healing work, but you still keep yourself balanced, temper yourself, because once we get into this energy, it's going to be different. We're going to be in fire now. We're going to be in fire. Fire is going to be, this is different energy. This is energy that you tap into when you need to really, really it's almost like, because I feel like Sag is very much like this, because they're the archers, right? So they have this entire like ability to just go into the woods and just shoot arrows, right? But where they land is how they get lucky, because where they land is the places that they kind of wanted to go, but they might have not even wanted to go in the beginning, but then they find out after they go to retrieve that arrow that it is exactly what they needed at the time. That's how they get lucky. They shoot all of these arrows everywhere, and then boom, it just lands, and it just, you know, it's like literally taking a chance. And then it's like, hey, you know, you take the chance and you'll actually get somewhere by taking a chance, versus sitting and sulking and not doing anything about it, which is what this is doing. This kind of like Queen of Cups energy, this is what this is doing. Also to note, King of Cups came up in the blockage for the last reading, for the root chakra reading, and now we have the Queen of Cups in the blockage for the sacral reading. So it's kind of like, not only is our mind blocking us, but our emotions are blocking us this week. We're being very much kind of like emotionally petty, because we're feeling the pain of it. We're feeling the anger of it. We're feeling like it's not fair. It's not fair on our end, what we're getting, what we're reaping from what we've planted before. It's not fair. It doesn't feel fair. And so while we want to move the way we need to heal it is by really analyzing where we want to shoot those arrows this time. Instead of just shooting everywhere. Because if you are not a Sag by sun, moon, or rising, it's a lot harder for you to shoot and get lucky, because your ego is somewhere else. Your emotions are somewhere else. And so you really need to actually think about, like, say, okay, let me reconnect. And this is also, Judgment is also the ancestor card. So really take time to reconnect with your ancestors if you need to. But really reconnect and take time to say, okay, this is emotionally tugging at me. This is emotionally how I feel. I don't feel good, and this is why I don't feel good. X, Y, and Z. Like, it's just very blank. 1, 2, 3. This is how I feel. And so because we feel like this, it's like, okay, so how, moving forward, do I temper myself? Temper the fire a little bit better. Don't you think it's funny that the fire sign card, the card is Temperance? Especially Sag, because it's a mutable sign. Don't you think that's a coincidence in a way? Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. There is a need to just say, hey, how do I control my fire? Especially if you have heavy Sag placements. How do you use your fire to get exactly what you want? Don't go against your own nature, but how do you use that to your benefit? How can you not shoot your arrows based on how frustrated you are emotionally, but shooting them based on what it is that you want at the end? There's a lot of emotional frustration about where we're stuck in. There's also a lack of self-care, because, yeah, I know this is a Taurus card. The moon's going to be in Taurus tomorrow. So it's like this week you really need to take some time to do a spiritual bath, like do something that will really help you get your bearings, get yourself sorted emotionally, really see the possibilities, see what's best for you. How do you do that? How are you going to do that this week? How are you going to make yourself feel good? Because right now it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. So how are you going to get there? How are you going to get there? And that comes from coming out of this Two of Swords energy, because again, the Two of Swords is very much blocking the intuition as well. So we're going to talk about that in the third eye reading, but there is a need to just like, no, we can't do that. We want to move, but where are we going to move? Well, we can't see. How are we going to move? Well, we really need to assess this. But if you can't see, where are you going to move? And this is really how all the chakras come back into an alignment with each other, because you're like asking yourself, where am I going to move? I don't know where to move. I don't know what to do. I don't know where. And then you have all these thoughts, and then this Gemini full moon is just going to keep you scattered. So come back to, one, self-care this week. Very important. Very, very important. Especially if you've been feeling like shit. Especially if you find yourself being a little bit ungrounded from how other people are making you feel, how you feel about certain situations, how you feel about not getting what you want. I'm definitely feeling that to an extent this week, emotionally speaking, and I feel like that's how it's going to be affecting us. Like I said in the root chakra reading, Scorpio is as it's coming out of a season, we are getting pulled up from the unconscious bottom of the ocean to the subconscious where Pisces lives and Neptune lives, and then we're getting pulled up into the conscious mind and getting to breathe a fresh air. But that's coming at the end of the week when the sun moves into Sag and we have that Gemini moon, and we could go back to having a little bit more clarity and really focusing on our opportunities and what we want to shoot. But this week is just like, listen, you gotta kind of be a little bit gentle with yourself, because there's a lot of stuff that's getting blocked out of frustration, out of feeling just down, feeling like, you know what, my passion, my drive is not getting put into the right thing. It just feels like I'm stuck, even though you can care about that one thing so much, and it cannot come up to nothing this week. That's kind of how it's gonna feel like, and that's really frustrating. It's really, really frustrating, especially if this is a love situation, whether or not you are able to see someone you care about, or you want to speak to them, or whatever the case may be. Please also understand that everybody else is also hermiting. There is a very hermiter vibe this week. It's been like that all of Scorpio season, as far as everybody needing to just sort out their shit. So don't get too frustrated that everybody else is not on your level of just wanting the thing. It's not that they don't want it, it's just that they're still sorting themselves out as well. So this week is a really good week to just pull yourself out, and also understand that while you're also going through your shit, everybody else is also going through their shit. Don't be super judgmental. Like, it's till the end of the year, honestly, it's gonna be a little rough here and there. Okay, I mean, Sag season is gonna be pretty good, but I've noticed in some of the people's charts that I've seen, that where Jupiter and Sagittarius is transiting in their houses, because it's gonna be switching over in January to a different sign depending on your degrees, it has been in the lower like 3 houses, and so it's kind of frustrating when you have Jupiter transiting your 12th house, for example. That's like, it's not a very social place to have Jupiter. So just pause, reflect, because that house is like, it expands that Pisces ocean of the unconscious mind. So instead of coming out of Scorpio season from the unconscious mind, you get stuck in the subconscious mind, and you're just dreaming and dreaming and creating and dreaming in your head, and you're staying in this hermit mode because you can't come out and be with others at this time. This is not the time to do that. It is the time to really be with yourself and just kind of sort out and yourself, your imagination, your dreams, your plans, where you want to go, how you want to see your life. It's a really great time to visualize. If you're actually in your power, you can do it. But when everything gets a little hazy, it just feels out of control. And when you don't feel out of control, especially when you have a lot of earth placements, it doesn't feel good. Then you're not grounded. So really, anytime this week where you feel like emotionally you're just at a low point, just pull yourself out of the situation and if you have a list of self-care things that you do one of them from the list. Like, do that for this week. Like, if you have a list, or write down a list of things that you love to do. It can be minor things: drinking tea, taking a bath, taking a shower, I don't know, like practicing magic. I always feel so much better once I've like done some spell work. It's just, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I set my intention and it'll come when it comes. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is that you do to practice self-care, do that this week when you feel the most emotionally frustrated, because I feel like it'll be a little bit more helpful processing the ebbs and flow of what's happening internally, because it's not that fun this week. I just don't, I think this week is gonna be a little frustrating, to be honest with you. I already feel it. I usually feel the energy for the week coming in Saturday, couple days before. I usually feel it before, especially when the moon's in Aries. It just squares so much in my chart, and I'm just like, ugh. Just like, can we have this Taurus moon? I'll feel better tomorrow. The middle of the week I'll feel fine, but like, once that moon goes into Gemini, my mind is just like, so there's that. Okay, energy for the week that we should focus on. Energy for the week. Oh, shit. Wait. Hold on. Oh, hold on. That fell at a weird angle. Okay. So, and we will take it. Bottom of the deck is Venus and Taurus. Oh wow. Oh my god, and Gemini. That's kind of funny. Okay. So, we got Capricorn, Earth, and Air. This is not surprising to me. And I know we didn't talk about Capricorn in this reading. We talked more about Taurus. But it goes hand in hand with that Earth energy and regrounding in the root chakra, which we did talk about in the root chakra. Not Capricorn itself, but just the regrounding. With Capricorn, and I know I've talked about Capricorn a lot. I don't know about Chaz, but me, Capricorn, what I do during this time of the year, especially during Scorpio season, when we really get to kind of our low point, I start replanning and I start planning out things. And I've kind of spoken about this like since I think Virgo season, because once it hits Virgo, I'm just like, I'm planning things. So I'm planning my trips for next year. I already planned what I'm doing for the first month of January. I'm gonna be flying to Atlanta. I still need to plan my birthday. I need to, that's the next thing. But for right now, I'm just planning out my birthday and really focusing on going into the year strong. That's really my goal. And kind of reconnecting to my body, which is another thing that I've been doing. I've just been trying to keep myself grounded by really setting up some goals that I can look forward to, because that's how we practice self-care. Capricorns practice self-care by actually having something to look forward to, because if we don't have a goal in our face or like to reach to, it gets very dark. So in order to keep our enthusiasm, we need to do this emotionally. We need to really reconnect back to ourselves, where we want to strive, what we want to do, and mentally get ourselves clear on it. And this was pretty much the root chakra reading, by the way. But mentally get ourselves clear on it so that we can move forward stronger, positive, and even though things get shaky here and there, like still in a place where we don't feel like complete shit because we're still striving for something. We can't, I feel like it's kind of hard for us to feel like shit when we're striving for something, because we're always like, okay, but the goal is this, so let me just keep going, let me keep doing this, let me just, you know, the refocusing, like our plans, our goals really make it so we're like, okay, but this is the goal though. Okay, that pissed me off, but you know what, I still gotta do this later, so let me just, you know, that's kind of how it works. And it really has to do with getting our minds sorted out so we can then be clear on what the plan is. So yeah, I feel like that's really how, if you want to incorporate that into your self-care practice this week, because I feel like I'm going to be sharing all my Capricorn secrets with y'all, apparently, because a lot of people don't understand Capricorns, so it's like they think we just care about work all the time, and in all reality, that's not how we work. We are just very much, we're tactical people. Y'all don't know, we are tactical as fuck. So like we have like our whole lives mapped out to a certain extent. Like there's levels, and I feel like a lot of people need the structure that a Capricorn has, that we're built with naturally. And that's why a lot of people see us the way we are. They're like, oh, this person like they'll only care about one thing. Yeah, because we're striving about that one thing, but we'll actually be caring about 5 million other things at the same time. It's just that one thing that we keep telling you that we're doing is the one thing that we're gonna get because we keep telling you that we're doing it. It's very mouth manifestation. We literally manifest from having a clear-headedness of what our mountain looks like. We can see it visually very clearly. This week is a really good, and I was gonna say this a little bit in one of the later videos, but why not say it now? Really good time to do scripting. I did a video on scripting on my YouTube. You can find it in my videos. But for the Gemini full moon, because scripting is amazing, especially when you're using this energy. Watch where your Saturn placements for this week, where your Saturn transits are for this week, because they might just be making you a little bit, Saturn might be challenging you a little bit, just a tad bit, just a weird bit. But watch your placements, your earth placements for this week, because they might just be pushing you in a certain direction. You might feel like that restriction. It's kind of funny because with me, with my chart and everything, Saturn is usually not the one that's pissing me off, astrologically speaking. It's usually something else. When the planets are transferring and all that stuff through my chart, it's usually not Saturn that's pissing me off. Usually I'm very clear on the restrictions that I have, and so I can't be mad at myself because I also put restrictions on things. That's another thing that we rule. And we do that by working with our minds. It's mental restrictions. We do that. I love having boundaries because I like to know when I can stop. Love having those rules. Like, give me the guidebook, give me the book, and I will know it better than anybody, basically. And so when it comes to these transits, like, a lot of people struggle with it, and they feel like they can't move. They feel restricted, and it's like, But the reality of the fact is that you're not always meant to move at the exact time that you feel the urge to do it. This is why Aries is so impatient. But this is why they get to the destination a little bit faster. They can make mistakes along the way. They rule the path anyway. But Capricorn's meticulously plans out the entire destination. And we make curves here and there accordingly. We change shifts and we shift accordingly. But we get there the slowest, but we achieve the highest. And so that's why we're always climbing. That's why it's always a mountain. It's not like, this ain't no kid games out here. Like, we're climbing up to the highest peak. And so in order to do that, we need to map out the journey. Aries does not do that at all. They take chances here and there, and in a way, they can get lucky here and there as well, but it's in their nature to fight, to be strong, to be the warriors, to really take on challenges, but it's also in our nature as well. So if you take your situation as a challenge and map out your way around it, and actually use this time to do some scripting and map out your way of the way you want to see your life shift for you moving forward out of Scorpio season, that would actually be a really good way to sort out all of the gunk that's happening in here. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this reading. I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and all that good stuff.